Julian
We shall,
Bell.
we shall know in front.
Mm.
And man, we are live.
Live, come on. It's another free flow Saturday. Let's go. What's up? How was your week?
I hope it's not my side today.
Me iko sawa.
Uko sawa, eh? Oh, okay. I
Thank
think
you.
there was a point ulikuwa na break. But
Okay.
now I can hear you loud and clear.
How was the kazi? How's the week been?
The week has been good.
Hmm. And you are
Um,
breaking up kidogo kidogo to like some small hiccups hapa pale.
man, I hope today the internet behaves. How is it now?
Uko sawa? Uko sawa. It was like a half a second glitch of some sorts.
Okay, okay.
But so far we are good.
I'm praying the internet gods today
Hmm.
don't fail us.
Wasifanye maneno yao tena.
Canal
Otherwise,
Yeah,
how's everything?
everything is good. I had a good week.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are a few things business wise that had been pending
Hmm.
that I finally got resolved.
Hmm.
Um, we also had a chance to review some of our sales numbers. They have not
Okay.
been good so far. So we want to see if we can be able to finish the year strong. So we want to put a few strategies in place
Yeah.
to figure out
How
how
those
we
numbers
close
are going to turn
2023.
around.
Yes.
Tunasema there's the guy called I don't know. Yeah, Ali Kiba. He would say mapenzi yanaran dunia. Me, I say figures zinaran dunia. The world runs on figures.
Manina the thing.
Yeah, because even if unasema mapenzi, even if you're going to talk about love, you need figures like how much are you earning, what kind of house are you living, on holidays. Are you going to be flying to the Maldives, or are you going to be the traditional going Ocha? We brought up under that regime of holiday. Go up country. Should be going to the
We
Maldives or
pile up the car and drive all the way up country. I think that's why we're calling it up country. I don't know where
up
that
country.
term come from.
Should be going
Uh,
to the Maldives or the Comoros
exactly.
Islands or Monaco. Now that is a holiday. That what we had was not holiday. It was just the way I never liked. I was not really much of a fan of a country life. So the only thing I enjoyed was the journey. I liked the buses and the trains and the whatnot. I just enjoy the journey. And when we get home, we just tick days. When are we going back? When are we going back? When the fuck are we going back? A holiday should be something you're looking for, like schools are closed in August. Yeah, this time you're going to Switzerland. You're going to do what do you call that? Ile una swing, unafanya hivi kwa ice.
Skiing.
You are going
Skiing.
skiing. Yeah, we're going skiing, man. That's how the
And
money.
you know
That's
all
how your
these
money
things,
works for you. And that's how your
all these
money works
things
for you.
that's true. And all these things are possible.
Yes,
It's just that sometimes we don't open our minds to what is
it's just
possible because
mindset.
and it's that reality. So you've done the
Hmm.
vacations to Mombasa,
Hmm.
uh, to the Naivashas and all these places, which is all good. When are you going to sit down to start organizing an out of the country vacation? Okay, start off
And
with
create,
Zanzibar.
and create a situation whereby your day-to-day life is more like a is like a is a resort. Your day-to-day life. I know some guy somewhere. What he did
Hmm.
hapa Kenya.
Hmm.
He was looking at a situation whereby people are going to the beach and whatnot, and said, "Why can't I go to the beach daily?" This guy sets up a 50. He got, I think, a 70-inch plasma screen
Hmm.
with the footage of a beach and seats, those beach seats. So every
Yeah,
evening, that's where he sits in his own house.
and just
A
watches the
70,
beach.
yes, 70-inch wall to wall. Everything is
Hmm.
there, plus the recording of waves and those
Mhm.
birds and everything
Mhm.
and the lighting. So
Mhm.
it can set up to daylight settings like 8 p.m., but the lighting looks it's like mchana in the coast minus the heat. And
Okay.
you say
Okay.
you say, I can create anything. You can even put the resort in your house.
Mhm.
So you okay, since you can't afford a private jet and maybe chartering one is too expensive, but what if you create a situation whereby the resort is in your house? Each time you leave work to go home, you are going to a resort.
Mhm.
Some motherfuckers have a home, have leave alone that thing they call home theater, like those like a tower and two speakers. Someone
Mhm.
has what we call a mini cinema. You know that cascading type with
Mhm.
like 10 seats. And it's
Yes.
very
Yes.
simple. You
Home
just
theater.
buy
Yeah.
those. You bought those. You went to a
Mhm.
fund. You bought the steps. Then put 10 chairs that are cascading with a giant screen with 3D speakers together with popcorn. Somebody says he normally has a holiday every evening.
In his
Every
house.
evening he is high has a holiday. So you are so productive at work. You have no thing to do at all refreshing. I don't know, energizing. Your house is an energy center with all wonderful energies, of course, minus the feminine energies. That one you don't need so much. If you include
Maybe
feminine
to
energy.
some degree you might need it to just spice it up. So maybe
No,
if
you
you
see,
create a swimming
feminine
pool.
energy, we are not a bunch of extremists who say we hate. No, feminine
Yeah.
energy for a while, keep it at minimum. Once you've blown your, the moment you blow your load, you normally look at this person, you ask, what was I pursuing now? You scratch your head, you're like, sasa, nilikuwa natafuta nini? So you use it for a while. One thing I'm very particular in my statement, I never say minimize it. I've never
Mhm.
ever said away with it. No, minimize it because if you go to buy something at the shop or at the supermarket and you find the attendant is female, are you going to walk away? Oh,
Mhm.
that's stupid.
And I guess this is the other thing about the manosphere
Hmm.
movement, as you may put it.
Hmm.
So I think to the extreme end, where others have come up with terms like the MGTOWs, men going it alone. Uh,
That one sounds a
I
bit.
guess the extreme side of it is where it creates that hate.
See,
The
that's
extreme side of
emotions.
it, yeah. So
You're putting
and the
your
understanding
emotion. Hmm.
is to understand ourselves and who we are and how
Yeah,
best we can prevail, we can thrive.
yeah,
Understand also the females
yeah,
and where the coming together thrives best, and sort of trying to design your life
yes,
to where the two of you can live separately and also can live together, uh, but more harmoniously, and it's not one trying to one up the other one, because you see that's what it has become. It's like every time somebody's devising a way, how can I be the one who's winning this time and the other one doing the same. So every time is a competition. And I mean, and I think when you think of marriage also in the current context, to some degree it has become a sense of competition.
it's a contest.
It's a contest,
Hmm.
one up over the other person, always going at each other in some form or the other. It could be a competition resource wise, who is earning more than the other, who sort of has power to prevail over the other. So, and
I actually
how
had
can
a,
that thrive? How can that union thrive with
it's
with
like
that kind of a mentality?
I had a conversation during my what I call my flirting excursions. Uh,
You're
yeah,
flirting escapades.
I call them excursions because an escapade means you are going very deep. An
Mm.
excursion is just like when
It's a
that
quick
aeroplane.
it's a It's a quick,
Just,
quick thing.
Nairobi and just zooms by, bus. So
Mhm.
somebody in this is somebody who's actually 2 years past Huduma Center. Somebody in 20 years, fresh. I actually
Mhm.
told her you are worth millions in terms of dowry, but unfortunately, I had to withdraw that statement when she went ahead and said that in marriage she believes that people should be cooking in turns. It's like, Ati, turns. Ati,
Uh,
if I cook today, you cook tomorrow. And that's
uh,
at that particular point, the dowry changed from millions of Kenya shillings to
yeah.
millions of Zimbabwean dollars.
Mm.
Mm. Sasa hiyo
Yeah.
sasa umeharibu
Mm.
kabisa. So I think we should realize that we are dealing with a very powerful indoctrination. That
Mm.
is why I think the God himself, Andrew Kibe, says, at times, out of your own safety, you are better off avoiding some of these things, minimizing it, because you don't know who you are dealing with someone whom behind them there's an aunt, there's a mother, there's an entire platoon. She may be what you call what is the name? You can be an agent of the matrix and you don't know. You may be dealing with an agent of the matrix who is not even aware of her status. So you are
Mm.
talking to someone, kumbe you're talking to the aunt, you're talking to the mother, you're talking to an entire network of women. You know that those newscasters who have earpieces, whereby
Yes.
questions are streamed to them, then so you may be giving feedback and it is
Mm.
being processed by a network behind her, then the answer comes back. So it is you, your mind, competing with like 15 women who are older than you, and older women have a thing against you. It is very difficult to outmaneuver an older woman in terms of mentality. They have a
Mm.
way of twisting and turning things. You've known how our friend Mariam and Ngeo like behaving when they get on the stage. They can really,
The
really,
diabolical
really,
sisters.
they can really knock you out, and you don't know that you are knocked out. You are literally talking in your sleep, and you think Have you seen this? There's a certain boxing match I watched. This guy got Karibu Sana Sharif Mustafa. This guy got knocked. The whole guy, the whole audience plus everyone watching on TV saw he's knocked out, but instead of being knocked out, his hands were flying. He's tossing his hands while he's lying on the floor. So in his head, he thinks he's fighting. So you in your head, you think you are fighting these people, and you got knocked out, Kitambo. You are now in the matrix. So at times, play safe, minimize it. You can go commercial, bang, pay, disappear.
You
Bang,
know,
pay.
the thing is, and I've been
Because
seeing this. It's
let's say
trying.
majority of
Mhm.
us men approach this thing with clear intentions.
Yes.
Most of us. I remember what do I call it? It was in 2015,
Mhm.
2015 or 2014. I was dating someone. Just we are now getting on. I came to realize everything that in our communication, my communication is from me, her communication is a version passed on from my elder sister in terms of what to
Mm.
say, how much money to ask for, what time to meet. So then I realized this is I'm actually fighting a network.
You know what you're bringing up is a very interesting point because it's the influences. The evolution of the modern woman is basically out of those influences
Yes,
that have come at you've got the modern woman one. They have gone through university and just imagine the university experience, what it has been. That's where the promiscuity is now unleashed, and
yeah,
then they get exposed to alcohol and all manner of vices, and then you transition to the workplace. And what is the workplace about? The workplace is telling you, you know, you need to become a man because now, you're being told be competitive, be
What a man
argumentative,
can do, a woman can do
can
better.
do better. So
And
all
that's a
these
truth.
influences, and then of course, what's the pop culture all about now? It's promoting this woman agenda, saying you are marginalized. I was actually just having a conversation on this with another lady, and one, they are being told women have always been marginalized, and men, why is it that we are treating women with double standards? We are not equating them as men. And this is the thing, you come into a marriage setting, and that's why that lady was telling you there'll be a turn taken in terms of
Yeah,
cooking and
this lady
possibly
was
washing.
in, she was,
Yeah.
she was, she was 20, 20, and
So
she's
just
telling
imagine,
me,
and it's at that age.
at
So
20, she's telling me that
when
if
she
you want
gets
to,
into her 30s, what will
eh,
that be?
so at 20, she's saying, anyone who wants to be with me, they are allowed to, uh, if I cook today, you cook tomorrow. For a few minutes, I thought that I was listening to, that thing of Naswa, whereby
Mm.
somebody is playing a prank of you, and the person was super, super serious. Then I asked, is that what was happening in your house? She said, yes. While you were small, dad used to cook sometimes. And it's like, oh, so this is a network that is going very deep.
It's a
Yeah.
bigger network, and those influencers don't even have to be that close to them. The
Hmm.
minute they are exposed into this world, I mean, what are the images they are seeing on TV, and what are they hearing on the radio? What are they seeing on the billboards when they get out on the streets, and all these influences in school, in the workplace? So this is what part of that sort of socialization or programming that is happening, where they're being told you're the same as a man. And even part of my argument with this lady, I was telling her, one, you don't realize the privilege you have as a woman. They have a privilege that we don't have. And I was telling her that I don't
What
seek to have
privilege?
that privilege. I was saying, as a lady, think about it. A lady can literally go to a bar without a single cent, and she will have all the drinks that she wants and have a
You are
meal.
putting it wrong. You are putting it wrong. A lady is a creature who can walk into a bar without a coin in her pocket and come out in a state of drunkenness higher than the combined drunkenness of all paying patrons. That is how you say. She's more drunk
Perfect.
than those who have paid. Those who have paid, their combined drunkenness is 50% lower than this one who came with her empty pockets, with some
Exactly.
cheap lipstick and some funny looking clothing.
I
So,
mean,
mm,
a lady at her 20s is already high value.
yes,
Because once she's got her beauty, she's got her
yes,
womb, it's all fresh. A gentleman at that age
my
is
friend,
zero.
we are, my
We have
friend,
to build our own
we
value
are, we are
over a
at our.
period of about 10 or so years for us to mean something in this world.
I have
That,
crossed into
that's the
fourth
burden
floor.
of being a man. And
You are
and
talking of 20. I've crossed into fourth floor and my financial kingdom. I'm still wondering if foundation ikae huku ama huku.
exactly.
Then and somebody's telling you that, oh, you are marginalized. Okay, why don't you simplify it? Next time there's a war, let the women go.
100%.
There was
Why is it that even in sports you have a
mm,
categorization of men and
yeah,
women sports? Because
mm,
biologically we are endowed with certain capabilities
capabilities.
that are
Mm,
far much superior than a
mm.
woman. But and this is the thing they don't understand. So they still want to carry along the privilege that they have for being just a woman, but get even some more privileges added onto that. So, and my argument was, as a man, I understand the privilege that you have. I don't desire to have it. I understand, for me to mean anything in this world, I have to create and work towards being something meaningful.
Yeah.
That's the burden I'm given. Those are the cards I'm dealt with. And instead of trying to bitch around, saying this or that about the burden of being a man, I would rather work towards changing those fortunes.
Yes.
But women now want to say, and that's why even you find even in a marriage setting, they still want to have certain traditional benefits that they get out of a man while still pushing for the modern aspect. We had a case even the other day. I think Kibe shared a video of a lady who they had created a joint account with her husband, but she went and took a certain amount. I think it was several thousands of dollars, and she argued
Yeah, it's her money.
without any sense of shame or guilt or anything that no, I need this money for myself. In the event that we divorce, this is gonna be my backup plan.
Yes.
And she's saying that point blank. And the guy is wondering, this money is for us. It's for the family. You're now taking away from there. So one is that selfishness, lack of accountability, and them not realizing that we are different. I think that's sort of the message that they want to see. Even when you look at all these messages, particularly when people get into marriage, they will say it's a partnership aspect. As a man, even in raising kids, they want you to become mother number two instead of figuring out how you can still be a father figure, a real father figure, and exemplify your male archetype to your child instead of trying to copy to be like her. She is a mother, she is a nurturer to the child. I don't have to do certain tasks or take up certain roles that you are the ones you are better placed to fulfill. But I can take up other roles that are, of course, aligned to who I am and what I'm naturally created to be. So this is the dilemma that we have in this modern world because of this equality we want to create. And I was even saying this, that yes, we all have the freedom of choice, but we don't have a freedom of consequences, because we're arguing in it from that perspective of why is it that we say women, when they're drunk, look bad and all that. And I was saying, if you're a drunk woman and I see you in the bar, because of your dressing, if you've got your skimpy dresses and you're drunk, you're likely to look, disheveled with your hair, with your dress. Maybe somebody could
We
take
look at
advantage
you. We
of
look
you.
at you the way a hyena looks at a vulnerable creature. You say, "Guys,
Exactly.
I see free pussy."
It's right there for you to
The
take it
meal
out.
has brought itself to the table.
Exactly. However much you might say, why don't you do that to a man? No, we are different. We are different. However much somebody can argue that. And they like to argue from academic sort of point of view, very theoretical aspect. But what's the reality? You look terrible. That does not add on to you in terms of respect and honor and seeing you. If we see a woman in distress, we will first go and save that woman, not the
Yes.
man.
Uh,
And
Yeah.
again,
They normally
going
say,
back
somebody say
to
women
this,
and children. Women and
yes,
children first.
women and children first. So, yes, you have the freedom to drink and be as rowdy and ratchet as you want to have, but you don't have the freedom of the consequences of what
Yeah.
that will bring. So, and that's the point that they don't understand, the difference that we are and how
I,
we are built.
mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to
I,
share on that.
I think to some extent also, um, a large to some point, I think we we messed up somewhere. The
Mm,
moment we started getting uh, married when you're not wealthy, that is where the things they
yeah,
went
that's true.
haywire.
That's true. Mm,
There are places whereby I think, well, in fact, for a very long time, somewhere in the Middle East, There
Yeah.
was a group of, we call them, I don't know, feminine apologists. These are men who are some of feminine in their thinking, were saying that getting married is very expensive, and some were even eloping to go get married. They were moving from Middle East, and then they were going to places like Bangladesh and other funny places to get married there.
Mm,
You see, the currency of a man is his pocket. The
mm,
currency of the woman is the womb and the youth. So if
mhm,
you don't have a heavy pocket, you are now forced to somehow do what you call compensatory maneuvers by being the. I'm not saying that you should be rough, but when there's too much of being romantic and helping around in the house and the cooking and the cleaning, can you imagine a billionaire doing that? No, because you are missing on the currency, the actual currency of manhood. And now you're
mm,
forced to compensate into these issues that sort of equalize you with your woman.
mm,
That is now you are in a situation whereby you are not wealthy, and somehow you manage to use your smooth talking and your romanticism and other stuff like flowers and chocolates and some borrowed coins here and there to impress someone to the point of marrying them. Then, of course, you take a loan to do a wedding and those other funny stuff that they do. Now you are into the marriage thing whereby responsibility is coming in. She's working, you are working. You come home at 7. She's also arriving at 7. Both of you are riding in that, what do I call this matatu called Embasava. Your asses are bouncing up and down on those leaf springs, dusty vehicle, seated there sharing matatus with people who I think they showered 1 year ago, smoke, sweat, dust. You get home, all of you are tired.
mhm.
Do you want this person to submit to you? She's as tired as you. She is a stud. She cannot submit because you put her there as your equal. You are working, she's working. She's probably earning a few more thousands than you, plus whatever maybe the boss is giving you, men who are also salivating after her. So, to some extent, this decision of saying, when they sold us this idea of, I don't know, you can get with someone and build together, that's where things got fucked up.
No, that's true, and
That
you
is
know
where
the,
we invited a
the
wild.
devil
Not even,
into
you
the
see, it's like those lions which are in a zoo. Those are tamed lions. You can manage them. You know that zookeeper. Just has, apart from a few incidents, but normally you just use a whip, like yeah, they're lying. Now you went, you opened your zoo and you brought in a creature from Masai Mara. This looks at you like food. So she's probably earning more than you. Well, there are days when you are bouncing in that Embasava or whatever it is you use to get home. She's been given a lift by her boss, that VX or Range Rover. And here you are waiting for her to cook you ugali and managu and whatnot. These things will accumulate. Then one day things will explode. They'll tell you, we baba nani hata unashinaga una pesa kila mara. I don't know when mwanaume ina gani. you then you get angry and
exactly.
you beat her up and you end
And
up in
again,
prison.
it's she's hypergamous, so
Yes.
just imagine
So,
now she has to start
mm,
comparing you with her boss.
leave
So
alone, leave alone
already,
boss. You are walking on foot. She's comparing you with that neighbor with the Toyota East. Ona hata baba nani anaendaga anapelekanga mama nani saloon na gari. And you're like, what's wrong with this bitch? She's not being a bitch. She's just being female, and it's female nature. Even in
yeah,
the wilderness, the female will look for the most dominant male.
yes,
You went ahead. You know very well you're not dominant, so you took uh, that hair of a lion is called men. You put fake men on your head and fake muscles, and you cheated that you are dominant. When you get to the
mm,
house and you removed the men and the fake muscles, then you, this is a jackal. This is not even a lion. So that the more she gets opened up and she starts seeing other real lions, and she's like, Baba ni nani kwa fake son. So it comes back to what we normally see, being avoiding being dick driven.
And
because
maybe the question then becomes, Brian,
mm,
and this is more so to those who are in the manosphere. Yes, so we've got these realities that we have to contend with.
yeah,
How the modern society, has sort of oriented the woman that we are looking to either pair ourselves with or come into union with. How do we contend with this? How do we
very
contend
simple.
with this?
Don't,
With
don't,
this?
don't
With
marry if you are
this?
not a millionaire. Start there. You have to start somewhere. Number one,
I
before you think
agree.
of having someone in the house,
So the
before you
standard.
think of
Mhm.
propagating your species, ask yourself, am I, as men, you have to be harsh with yourselves. Are
Mm,
you a king or are you a peasant?
yeah,
There's
and I
no
guess
day a peasant will give birth to a prince. A peasant,
that's why even in Middle East you've got those. We've heard of some of the countries
mm,
even require you to be of a certain income level
yes,
before they give you a marriage certificate to allow you to
yes,
marry a woman.
yes,
And it might seem sort of a bit controlling because again, remember at least the Arab society, what they show us is the West started talking about love and the chemistry and all this touchy fluffy
that's
kind of
dopamine.
stuff that you can't they have no substance at all. But the
That is called,
reality is,
it's
if you
called
have to bring a
non-actionable data.
yes, if you have to
Mm.
bring a woman in, it means taking care of her, taking care of the household and the children that to come with it. So the reality is, it's not for us to run away or to cop out.
Mm.
It's not a question of having an easy cop out,
Mm.
but it's calling on us as men that we raise our standard.
Yeah, raise your standards.
It's all
Just
about
make it,
resources.
just, just make it clear to yourself. If I
Mm,
don't have this number of hundreds of millions, if I don't have this revenue stream continuously for the next 5 years, if my the last 5 years, if my net worth is not like this, I have no business raising or starting a family. And
mm.
something I asked some time back, it was during, I think, Open Mic Friday. I asked, what if we had this thing of, if I'm not wealthy, I'm not reproducing? What if we thought like this 30 years ago? Would we be having these issues?
Sorry, repeat that. I saw
I'm
my
saying,
internet fluctuate right there. Yeah,
Chantel
go
has
ahead.
come in again. Tell her to go away. the thing is this. This saying that setting stance say that if I'm not worth these hundreds of millions, I have no business starting a family. I have no business making someone pregnant. If
Mhm.
what if we actually, to a very large extent, activated this doctrine 30, 35 years ago, where would we be? Would we be facing this issue? I
No,
highly
no,
doubt.
no. I think the society will be very different
There will be a lot
because
of polygamy because the women will be
exactly.
married to the guys who
Y-
are able to, and the
Yes.
guys who are left out will be grinding like fucking crazy. But
No,
right
that
now we have
and that's the good thing. Mm.
somebody. I'm not putting people down, but to find someone who is doing ile kazi, what do you kuteka mchanga kwa mjengo, he's telling you he has 3 kids. Like, how did those women even agree to sleep with you? Did you rap them or how? Yes, Abu, this mathematics is not. I think you're using the wrong calculator or something. How did now these kids will see the man being dominated?
Mm.
Yeah. We are. I call it poverty muscle memory. That is why somebody we find someone if sees you with like 10K in your M-Pesa, they get shocked. I saw there was this place I think it was 5 years ago. It was on NTV. There's this place where you pay 30 bob and you sleep. It's like some
Mhm.
weird shelter. Someone say he has never seen 10,000 in his life. And it's like, man, if only his parents says I'm not giving, but until I have this certain standard. Would have avoided this. So it again comes back to us. The ball is in our court. And literally, the ball, it is our balls which are controlling us. We should be
It's a
controlling, yeah.
yes.
We should be controlling these balls. If you
What a
know
man.
you are somebody, you are earning like 70,000 per month net, please, if you are going
Go
to do
back
any
and hustle
fucking,
more.
okay, if the your dick has become excess, you can just put on a rubber, do a commercial bang. Commercial bang means you're fucking a prostitute, and let it end there. This issue of saying that I can start a family and whatnot, this is what one of the, that's why I put it on Twitter, and someone got very angry at me. Say I made it very clear that the number one, what we call the scorched earth policy of eliminating poverty, is for broke people not to give birth.
Mm,
Plain and simple. That's why after all the programs and the plans and the structural adjustments on all that flowery language that is used in these seminars for poverty eradication or whatever they call it, scorched earth policy. You don't
mm.
have money, don't sire kids. It's as simple as that. If you
Yeah,
don't
I
have
mean
money,
it's a
yeah,
hard reality, but think
yeah,
about the pandemic that we have of single motherhood that we
yeah,
have, and those kids that are born of single motherhood, we know what the stats mean. They're likely to
yeah,
be in crime, you know,
yes,
all the deviancy that you
yeah.
have
And as
in
much as
society
and as
emanate from
much
that
as
because you don't have a two-parent household, and
yeah,
it's highly likely when you have um, a
and
single mother
as much as
to fall
we
into
may
those
say that
causes.
as much as we may say women control access to sex, majority of these guys banged with these women knowing very well that they are not committed to them.
Mm,
Yeah, as much as we may say women control access to sex,
mhm,
majority of these men who are banging these women to become single knew very well I am here on what we call offload and kuchomoka.
hit
You
and
know the
run.
way that aerial. Have you seen that aerial fire engine? That helicopter for pouring water on a fire, then it takes off. That's what
Yes,
you are
yes,
doing. Offloading your very huge volume of thick white
yeah.
sperm, and
Come.
you know very well
Mm.
your finances are just matambara mbadala from top to bottom.
Badala.
Even you, maybe the manager for Fuliza knows you personally, and here you are jumping on this woman. You probably use some smooth language. In your heart, you know this thing is not for you. So we have to take responsibility and say we created this mess,
We did.
and we are actually
I mean,
in fact we are actually what we call the creators and the destroyers. We've literally destroyed ourselves. We
yeah.
have destroyed ourselves. When you see someone working in a puny job with like six baby mamas, you really, there's nothing to celebrate there.
And
Uh,
and
yes.
and talking about the mess that we are in,
Mm.
when do you think the day of reckoning is gonna come?
I don't bother about their reckoning. You don't avoid this activism. You stick to your line. Don't be like a locomotive pulling a lot of dead weight. Be like a jet fighter
Yeah.
or a Formula One car. You
No,
run by
I was saying this in reference to something. I was listening to actually an interview by who was this Vusi Tembe Choir,
yeah.
and he was saying, you know, there are a few guys that can see the whole mess and probably have sort of shouted and put out the alarm and the warning where all this is headed. But he said it clearly. I'm afraid I think we have to reconcile with the fact that it's until things come crashing and burning, that's when I think the world will come to a realization of where
Or
this train was
like
headed,
where they
because
say,
we can see the policies that are being adopted within organizations, within the government. in society as a whole. And people are saying, no, this won't work. But those that are pushing, of course, some that have the money and want to push these agendas, again, we don't know for to what end, probably for their own self-serving means. And these agendas are gaining quite a the acceptance, or the sort of getting into the mainstream, um, despite how ridiculous some of these things are.
Or
It's like
like
we've actually suspended our common sense, our logic, just to accept things because of how they are marketed. If it's this LGBT issue, it's marketed as one will love whoever they love, and this kind of terms. This is how it's marketed, and we know what it is for sure. So he said, I think at this point, this train, you just have to let it to crash and burn, and then probably the few that are strong will rise at that point in time, and they will have to be the ones now to begin
or
to
like
remedy
like
the
what they
situation.
say that hard times,
100%,
no,
exactly.
no,
That's it.
tough
That's
guys create hard times create tough guys. Tough guys create easy times.
yes,
Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. So it's a
100%,
cycle. A cycle.
100%. Yeah, and that's where we are. That's where we are, unfortunately. And as you say, I agree. I mean, don't, because I know particularly in the African sense, we like to look at the collective. How can we come together to fight something? But you have got no control of the other person. All you have is yourself. So it's for you to raise to the occasion, and hopefully we will meet at the top with those that have also taken that individual responsibility, where they have decided they want to be, you know, uh, for
When
lack
you
of a
talk of
better word,
the
empowered.
African, talk of the African way or the African whatever, please remind yourself of the fact that you are referring to a race that has never invented or improved anything.
Yeah.
Before you see, I normally say uh, every apparently every race has made their contribution to the global table.
Hmm.
The Europeans, they've done. The Chinese have come, they've done their thing. Even people like these people we normally see on, we used to see them in these old movies whereby an entire army is destroyed by one person. Oh, the Vietnamese, they have their own
Ish.
Vietcong, VinFast.
VinFast,
Uh,
bro. I mean,
you've
that's
seen it.
a technological,
Mm.
uh, you
Masterpiece.
know, not
Now
even the
we have,
VinFast, but I mean Vietnam as itself. This
yeah,
is
of all people, our so-called narco brothers, the Mexicans, have a
yeah.
vehicle called VUL.
Oh, I didn't know about
Vehicle
that.
ultra fast, high and light performance. It's called a VUL. It's a supercar. When you go to Spain, I know them for their machines for milling. Company called Nord Mechanica. They
Hmm.
make equipment for milling factories. Every race has placed their stake on the global table.
Hmm.
It's only us who are here. So uh, when someone talks about African ways, to some extent, I would want to simply keep quiet. I don't
It's
want
it's
to.
it's that
I don't
it's that
want to get into
mindset.
argument
Yeah,
because
it's that
normally,
mindset.
yes, these people sometimes it comes with a lot of emotions. Oh, you are people. I'll rather just keep quiet and avoid the activism thing and just do my thing and somehow put myself there. But as
Yeah.
long as we're not placing ourselves on the global table, we are
You know,
messing up.
I was listening to a couple, is a black American couple, and they were interviewing this guy who apparently has got some political ambitions, from a southern state in the US, and they were walking in a town that seems to have been very devastated. There was boarded up commercial buildings, and it's a town that was literally dying. And actually, the title of their video was "A Town That Is Sabotaged." And I remember commenting after listening to the guy, because the guy, all he was saying is, oh, the government is not giving us grants, or the government is not doing this for us, or it's even enabling immigrants. Apparently, immigrants are buying land using certain loopholes in our laws. And I commented then, said, this is such a tired conversation that we are always complaining of what is either happened to us or is happening to us, that we never take full responsibility, that we've relegated ourselves to become complainers, activists, and victims.
KCB, Kenya Complaints Battalion.
Kenya complaints. So,
Mm.
and I think this is the mindset that pervades a lot of Africans, and even those that are in the Americas, the so-called Black Americans. They refer themselves with all these titles. They are foundational Black Americans, African Americans. Anyway, these people that we share the same skin color, and it boils down to that we are always complaining of a history of slavery, colonialism, and we'll go again and say what the modern sort of oppression means. And I said, why is it that we are not taking advantage of those loopholes to empower ourselves? Why is it
And,
that I was saying the world as it is not a question of you waiting to be given things. You will have to fight for
you
it.
have to fight for them. You have
Not
to grab them.
given by you. You have to take it by force.
And
And I think
and
this is
people,
what the black man has failed to understand. Because I was even giving an example of, look at the Asians and the Arabs. They are all developing and growing. I was saying they are now at a very strong position to even rival the West.
yes.
And they also went through that history that we had. They went through a history of being colonized. They went through a history of being enslaved, but they have not remained in that history and keep making reference to that history. But now they are forging ahead to the future. Yeah.
And that part of saying you have to fight for something is not necessarily literally. Part of
Mm,
it is there are days when you have to operate way below your means. There was somebody was doing some some bit of analysis. Sorry. Uh, the biggest purchasers of high-end goods, the Mercedes, the Range Rovers, and whatnot, and high-end luxury items are blacks.
yeah, 100%. Exactly.
The biggest purchasers of the BMWs and the Maybachs and the Escalades are blacks, not even the whites who make them.
Yeah.
So you are the ones you are ever buying these things, and what then you are expecting to move up. Why should I give you a grant when the first $1 million you make, you rush for the biggest house,
For
you
the
move to the biggest
consumption
place.
stuff. Mm,
Yes, and you have the capacity to set up a cottage industry in the hood if you can. Yeah. So
yeah.
to some extent, going back to men, I think we fucked ourselves up, and
Mm.
somehow that
We need
program
to
is being corrupted. To some extent, we are seeing that the blame is being pushed on the women. Oh, these bitches, what? We made them the
Again,
bitches.
yeah, it's good you highlight that, because I guess that's the other issue that this so-called manosphere movement
Manosphere, where we now
is
say, oh,
about
these
pushing
bitches
the
are this,
blame. Yes,
these
and not
bitches are this, this bitch.
taking
You are the one.
responsibility.
You fucked this woman knowing well you
Yep.
don't have money and you ran away.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
much as women control access to sex, you control access to your dick. You
Yes.
know very well your pockets are not conducive to the proper upbringing of a child in a winning environment, and you go ahead and pour your thick, stinking poverty genes into a woman, then you say, oh, beaches, beaches. We met the beaches. Like you're complaining, you are the chief vampire. Then when you bite other people, you're saying vampires wamekuwa wengi sana. You are the one biting them. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we need to avoid. We need to be very careful. As much as we may take time to correct our sisters, let's remember we originated this mess.
We did. We did.
The moment we started telling ourselves, oh, we can build together with women, there we go. We're building together with a woman. A woman is a soft creature. A woman should be placed in a situation where she's relaxing at home, having kids. She can go to the saloon any day she wants. She can buy any clothes she wants. She can look sexy. She can look like a supermodel by your budget.
Mm.
But if you start bringing them here to be with you and flexing muscles, we sunk ourselves. Now you know why Taliban fought tooth and nail against the Americans.
Mm.
They knew what they were defending. They knew what Americans were trying to bring into their country, and they said we better become extinct.
Mhm.
And so I think the Taliban saw the matrix from very far.
Oh man.
They knew this.
And talking about people that are building, we've spoken about the Vietnamese and the Mexicans.
Hmm.
The Taliban's also had their own version of a supercar.
It's
The
called murder.
Afghans. Yes, the
It's called murder.
Afghans.
Hmm.
Yes.
It's called
And, and,
murder.
and, and of course, they have designed their societies well
Hmm.
to ensure that they don't get polluted by this agenda that, the current society is pushing.
Yeah, that's what they fought the Americans against. They were not really, because when you look at it, why would someone fight so hard against the superpower? Why didn't they just surrender? They said, listen, we better just die.
Mm.
You better just kill every day. Fought tooth and nail against a superpower like America. And when the Americans pulled out, it was like somebody pressed the refresh button of a page, and everything just reverted back to previous. So it's like, let's just wait for these motherfuckers to leave, and we'll just even the so-called Afghan puppet government, it crumbled. The one that was being held by Americans, it
Mm.
simply, they just said, wait, hii hatuwezi, wacha irudi tu vile ilikuwa. So that's what happened, and we are happy for them. I hope their car, the murder, it's called murder something. I wrote to an official of their government, but they didn't respond. I think they saw my email and they were like, this name looks American.
You wrote about what? What was it about?
About the car, I wanted to discuss with them about making it
Oh,
hybrid
okay.
and such
Yeah.
stuff, but they anyway. But if you go through the inbox of that Afghan minister or whoever, my Brian Juma will feature somewhere along there. Maybe if we meet with the ambassador, hey, hebu ukipitia huko chungulia inbox Brian Juma, you will see my email there. So we like
Mm,
communicating.
they might
If you see
offer
me
you some.
wearing a turbine
Yes,
and some things
yes.
in Kabul,
We know
know that
Brian has
your
met
boy
us.
anafanya maneno in Afghan. Yep.
He's now an Afghan. We'll be calling you Brian what? Ahmed.
Shah
Uh,
Massoud,
uh,
project manager, Mada Sports Car, Mada Supercar.
yeah. Yeah, man, that's a good conversation that we've had, and it's good reflecting on this manosphere and sort of its pitfalls.
Hmm.
And as we say, it's one of either trying to seek to isolate yourself, which comes off more as a cop out, and one that seeks sometimes to quickly blame the other gender, um, and sort of be more complacent instead of raising your standard, to fit into the current world that we are in. So it's about taking full responsibility, raising your own standard, And in summary, also, as we spoke about, the issues that plague the black man, regardless of where he might be, again, it comes down to taking full responsibility and understanding that this game is not you to be seeking to be, holier than thou, kumbaya, let's hold hands, trying to moralize everything. This requires us to accept the world for what it is and respond accordingly.
Yeah.
If it means a fight, whatever form that fight takes. As you said, a fight does not necessarily mean arming ourselves, though I do think there are certain scenarios where that will have to
Be brought in. Yeah.
be brought in. But it could be, as I even wrote in that commentary, as I said, is one, have we educated ourselves on the system, how the world works? So instead of trying to idealize sort of a utopian world where we all come together, hold hands, accept one another regardless of our differences, the best would be, let's study the financial system. Let's study how money is made. Let's study how to create strong, thriving businesses. Let's study all these things. Let's study the law. If it means figuring ways to take advantage of certain loopholes, let's do that. Instead of thinking we are gonna run the straight and narrow. That's not how the world is. It's a cold, cold world, and reality is what it
Sometimes you
is.
may need to use guerrilla tactics to get to the top of the hill.
Yes, 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 yes. It's a
So,
hard reality to accept, and this is what we don't want to to discuss or confront. But if it has to come to that, because um, the other submission I made was, those in power will always fashion things to work in favor of them.
yeah, whoever is managing the matrix cannot
If you're
manage
in
it to work
control
against him.
against him,
No way.
I
It's
mean,
like it's
that's
like
why.
you are in your house. You are in your house. Are you going to short circuit your own house?
Actually, somebody put it so well. I remember. I think I was interviewing this guy. He's a real estate mogul. So he's doing some great jobs back in Kenya, and he said, um, the world is not about being fair. Even in business, there's a term they say: always find your unfair advantage. What is that thing that puts you ahead?
Ahead of the pack.
And that's what you want to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be, if it's strong distribution, take advantage of that.
Take advantage of it.
If your
Mm,
competitors don't have that,
mm,
if you happen to run the rail lines
mm,
where it's like, let's say, I think before in America, some of the railroads were being run by private corporations. So
mm.
of course they will ensure those rail lines serve them more than they serve other people.
Yeah,
So it's just that understanding what's your unfair advantage and take advantage of that.
exactly,
Take
exactly.
advantage of your unfair advantage. Life will never be, it has never been fair.
Mm. Championships are fought for. They are not awarded.
Hmm.
Championships are fought for. You want to be a champion, you have to ensure that whoever you are competing with is actually knocked and knocked senseless. He has absolutely no chance of getting back to. But otherwise, if you think that you are going to negotiate your way to a championship, no,
Yeah. There will be no, in life, there are no participatory awards.
no way. We only have you have
You have
number
to fight
one,
for everything, tooth and nail.
you have number one, then the rest of the losers.
Exactly.
Where
That's
number
how
two
it
is the
is.
champion of the losers now.
This idea of let's all be equal, let's all be fair.
Ah, no, no.
Yeah. Then you'll have to
So
wait until. So I can see Sharif Mustafa is telling you, is wishing as soon as the Afghans give you
if they can read
exemption,
my mail, we can
they'll
discuss
prepare
about
fresh for you.
prepare for me and 17 and a half year old, so that by the time I
Yes.
land there, she's 18 on the
Boom.
dot.
And the minute you're there, you make sure you impregnate her, man. Let us
Kabisa,
start producing
you
Brian
you
Jr.
you fly. You are in KQ with a bowl full of spams, fresh
Just
spam.
preserve that nut.
Unafika, where is she? Haraka upesi. My
Haraka
balls are
upesi.
busting. I already
Eh.
have precum on my dick.
And they will even support you because they are looking, hey, man, we are bringing these brains all the way from Africa.
Yeah,
We
it
need more of
because I
the
wanted
same.
to what I was telling them about
Mhm.
was now converting it into made it a hybrid supercar
They were
because
using what?
hybrid,
Was it a Toyota engine or what was it?
whatever it is, we just make it a hybrid. Like when it comes to supercar, hybrids are more efficient and they are more expensive because this is something I've always been interested in. Like the McLaren 720S is a normal supercar; it will cost you $300,000. McLaren P1 is a hybrid; it costs $1.1 million. You are paying for
So
the efficiency.
let's go down this rabbit hole for a few minutes. So
Mm,
why hybrid and
mm.
not full electric?
You
Uh,
see,
mhm,
if I'm to say my view is this: when it comes to full electric, the first lot should be motorcycles and tuk-tuks which operate on battery swap. So when you are doing battery swapping, there's actually zero inconvenience.
mm,
You have a full network of battery swap stations. So
yeah.
inconvenience is zero. The next lot will be vehicles which are what we call medium-sized commercial vehicles that
Mm,
run on a stipulated circuit. Circuit
mm,
means a vehicle that is leaving a warehouse, it does whatever it does and comes back. So when it comes back to the
deliveries.
warehouse, that is a full circuit. So it can do
And
a full circuit. It has been tailor-made to do that circuit without a problem and come back and charge overnight. So you're talking
I've
about vehicles
actually,
operating from a
mm,
warehouse and schools. Then
mm,
after that, now we are looking for long distance vehicles. Now you go hybrid.
you go
Purpose of
hybrid.
that
And
is
that makes sense. Yeah.
because if you are doing a long distance electric and then you are being given a task, you are told to drive to from Mombasa to Kigali.
Mm,
What are you going to do now? You may be
mm,
having a network in Kenya, but what about Uganda?
yeah, that's true.
What about how are you going to go past Uganda? So for
Mm,
the long haul, we work with the series hybrid.
hybrid. Yeah,
For the
makes
electric
sense.
charging, whereby you are plugging in, you do a plugging, you do what we call the short haul circuit vehicle, whereby it is moving from a warehouse to a factory, from a factory to a predefined route, whereby you have years of data. You know that this is what the vehicle, this is
So
the mileage
even taxis, this would work well for them. Fully
for
electric,
taxi cabs.
like Ubers that just
As
again
long as as
will
long
have
as
to
you have
operate
the
within
data,
a defined circuit because we
and
could
as
say if
long
it's
as you
only
have the data,
operating. Mm.
you have a
I've
data.
actually seen they have
Hmm.
introduced some new motors here, electric motors in Rwanda. I've been seeing them here.
Ampersand,
These
that
are
should be ampersand or what?
no Upper is the one that has the battery swap, but there's a newer sort of, should I call it, brand. Actually, today I took a ride on one. I had
Is it
left my
plug-in
petrol.
or battery swap?
It's a plug-in. It's a
Uh,
plug-in. But I engaged them in terms of how long it takes. So they were telling me it does have sort of kind of a faster charging, although
okay.
faster charging means a downtime of close to 30 minutes. It
For
can affect them, and battery swap was the best because you just come in,
for
boom.
those
It's a sort of
motorcycles
a
and
5-10
tuk-tuks,
minutes. Mm,
a battery swap, masekunde, you are done. Then
exactly.
the next stage would be these vehicles you charge, but the circuit is defined. You know very well after this number of kilometers, the vehicle is normally packed. So you're talking
Mm,
about things like bread vans, school buses, staff transfer buses, because the staff bus will move in the morning, then maybe afternoon shift, then at the night shift. So that those are three trips in a day. That one you can. The issue is to avoid the inconvenience. That is the chief headache.
yeah.
If
Yeah.
you take all
And
the
even the network is not that wide. I mean, I've only
yeah,
seen
yeah.
the charging stations. I mean, there are people that have where I work, the co-working space does have a charging station, but it's for some vehicles.
Mm.
But the petrol stations, I can only say I think I've only seen two that have
That's not wide enough.
charging. So that's and actually how they are situated, they're actually fairly close to one another. So I imagine if this guy is driving almost to the edge of the city limits, man, and if he happens to lose power, it's gonna be a big
So the
detriment to him.
vehicles that run on charging, these should be vehicles that operate out of a institute or a premise or a storage area or a factory, whereby you know very well wherever it will go, it will come back to the factory. So
Yeah.
when you are tailor making the battery in terms of range, you know very well worst case scenario, if a vehicle the full circuit from morning to evening is say 250 kilometers, then you build a vehicle with a range of 400 kilometers.
Mm.
So you are now at peace. You do a thing, you know very well in the evening the vehicle is coming back. The route is predefined, it is pre-planned. Now that will work. But if you are saying a vehicle that is going to stay 3 days away from the factory, that is crossing border after border after border, and you are putting charges, I don't in this part of the world, that will be a bit of a situation for you because there's
Yeah.
aspects of uptime. Maybe you got delayed in a traffic jam and you want to make up time, and during delay you may be consuming power from the heating and whatnot. So after escaping the jam, you can't
Yeah.
say that I want to bypass Nakuru because you have to charge at Nakuru. Such kind of a scenario. That's why for the long haul, let's work with the hybrids. Electricals, charging stations, you put them in a factory whereby this vehicle is like a day scholar. It will go in the
Mm.
morning, come back in the evening. Then for battery swap, you are dealing with the border borders who really cannot afford any bit of downtime.
Yeah.
Imagine you are swapping, this thing is operated by two people. Then the guy hands over to the other person, he has to wait 1 hour for it to charge. There's going to be an argument. Hey, kwani umefanyia nini battery bwana? Mi kila nikichukua pikipiki nasimama hapa 1 hour. Ah, pana bwana. Mi sitaki. Such kind of arguments. You better have you
Yeah.
swap, you go. Swap and you go. You're better off.
Yeah. And actually, now that I look at it, I'm actually just going through the internet to see, but there are about 2 to 3 charging stations. There is ones that are in sort of private, although they can be accessed publicly.
Mm.
So you could actually, okay, let's put all those together. 5 for a city the scale of Rwanda. It's still very small.
Very
Man,
small.
I'm even wondering. I'm sure those motors have to be careful every time they get a client and they have to look at their charge, the level of charging they have, and how far they could go. So I know that the battery charge, the battery swap options, they have extended a bit on their network, and I think for them it's better because let's say even if you're stuck somewhere, you could then be able to quickly work out some ways to get a new battery brought to you.
Yeah.
But this other guy, man, you'll have to figure out how he has to transport that bike.
What needs
To
now
his
is to the battery swap stations, the people in charge should be more aggressive, and then maybe they should come up with what we call a battery standardization so that any model of a bike can swap
Mm,
a battery anywhere, just like fuel.
yeah.
So if
But
you say, yeah,
the other thing that they have done with these new bikes, it's
mm,
sort of a closed unit. If you look at them, is like one unit and it's all closed in. It's like think of your iPhone. Your iPhone, you can't like open the back of it to
you are
pop
talking
in.
of the one for charging.
Yeah, those the electric ones.
Oh,
I don't know.
that is like a permanent battery that you can't. I'm saying
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the battery swap system, if
yeah,
you are going to, if they can sit down and say, if you are bringing
yeah,
motorbikes
do
battery
standardization.
swap
Yeah.
motorbikes in this
And
area.
I think that's a conversation they are gonna have going forward.
We standard so that a motorbike from Ampasan, from whatever, they can just swap and go compatibility. Because
Compatibility.
if we have now like 10 companies with the battery swap, now we are going to create a very huge it's be a okay, it's going to be a bit weird, like 10 substations and each one taking to the, let's just like fuel
It's like
from
fuel.
Shell and fuel from Total is just so you can just standardize in terms of shape, and maybe even they can talk of, we can bring categories of range. You want a 200-kilometer one, a
Yeah.
50-kilometer one, 70. The same way you go to a petrol station, give me fuel for this amount. You're gonna give me, I want a swap for this size because today I know my workload is small. So, but these are things we can discuss and iron out. I
Yeah.
don't think it's much
I
of an
agree.
issue. We are not designing a rocket here or something like that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
mm,
They're easy fixes. They're easy fixes. Even the existing bikes as they are designed, I think they could be remodified a bit to allow for those battery swaps and those kind of things.
yeah.
Anyway, I think will be a good time to now call it
Log off.
log off.
1 hour 11 minutes of un unrehearsed conversations between two people who maybe we are crazy, we don't know. I'm not the
We are the
expert here.
crazy ones, bro.
We are,
We are the
we are the
crazy
mad
ones.
ones.
Yeah.
We are the ones who need to be placed in an institution, locked, and the key thrown very far away in the sea, probably. So let's give a shout out to our visitors for today. We have our I call him the MVP of attending the spaces. There was a brief time he was away. I think he went to see the Somali version of Chantel or something. Shamsa.
You went to see Amina
Or Shamsa, but he's
in
our
Agesa.
ever present,
In
ever
Agesa,
supportive, and
yeah.
Luti family is there. And we have Nira.
I saw Nira. I saw
Nira,
Nira jump in on this space, man. And then I don't know what
so
she has put in there. I can't decipher the message. She says, body blue,
body
raised
blue
up.
raised. Okay, whatever you say, you are here, no problem. We
We
appreciate. We
appreciate
give
you.
you a participatory certificate for.
Yes, yes,
Mm,
yes.
mm.
I think there's even a third person somewhere, but is
Lute family. Lute
incognito at
family
this.
also chimed in a few moments ago.
Yeah,
Lute
Loot
family.
family. Yeah, but I can see on there we have
Yeah.
three
Sharif
live viewers.
Mustafa, Lute family, and Nira. Thank you
Oh,
very
Nira
much.
is yes, we assume that.
Mm,
Thank you guys. We really appreciate you coming on board. Tomorrow,
mm.
5 to 7. I know Sharif Mustafa is a big one on this. We're having the
On the
Jazzified
jazz
Sundays.
online festival.
Oh
Mm,
my goodness, that's another one. So
mm.
man, this is great stuff. Thanks, bro. We'll see you next time.
Adios.
Adios, muchachos.